Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome to another stimulus check update. I cannot believe I'm saying this. It is so crazy, but we are officially back with stimulus checks. Because the story is that over the last weekend, President Donald Trump has officially come out to announce and confirm on Truth Social that he is going to be doing a stimulus check. Now, I think it is so important to really clarify is that it is not approved yet, and it's not even considered a proposal, at least in the sense of a signed document. So there's no document to really show you guys, but what it is to say is that he has come out to speak that he is planning to do everything in his power to try to confirm and make stimulus checks, specifically a $2,000 dividend stimulus check, a reality. And that's really the story to today's update. So in today's video, what I really want to talk about is pretty much just giving you guys a brand new update about what's going on in the stimulus check world. I know it has been a while. I do miss you guys very much, but we are back now again. And so the idea is that we're going to be talking today all about the stimulus check, how it's going to be funded, how it works, what are the requirements to get onto the stimulus check, and all sorts of the important details that we currently know right now. There are some things we do not know right now because, again, this just literally started, but there's information that we do know. And one of the information that we do know is that he has now officially confirmed a stimulus check. So with that being said, let's just get right to this video. But as always, you guys know the same drill as always. If you guys enjoy videos and want to share support, like, comment, subscribe, and let's get started. So we're going to start this video by talking a little bit about the background story to how this stimulus check even came to be and how it's going to supposedly be funded according to President Donald Trump. Essentially, the background story is that, as most people know if you've been following this channel for a while now, President Donald Trump is a very massive fan of doing tariffs. And one of the things that he has announced is that because he's such a huge fan of doing tariffs, he believes that one of the goals that he hopes to achieve by implementing tariffs, even though we've already made several videos talking about tariffs, so consider checking that out or subscribing if you guys are still brand new here and haven't done so already. But the idea really is that within the tariff system, he believes that there is enough money coming in from tariffs that he can now use that money both, first off, is to pay off the debt that the government owes, so that couple trillion dollar debt that we've talked about on this channel. But on top of that, there's still enough excess money to not just pay off the government debt and deficit, but also to take some of that money and help support Americans by creating the $2,000 dividend tariff stimulus check. And that's really the background story to how he hopes to be able to fund and how this even came to be. Essentially, he's trying to do this as a way to give back to American people. And again, this is just what he has supposedly said. So whether you agree or don't agree, or that's something, maybe feel free to comment down below. But in terms of now moving on to talk a little bit about who is going to qualify and when this will come out. So right now he believes is that the story, again, going back because there's no document about this stimulus check, this is just a word that he gave. Essentially, he wants to implement some kind of income limit. That's why this stimulus check will be able to go out to most Americans that are probably watching this video. If you are someone that qualified for any of the first stimulus check, second stimulus check, or third stimulus check, then the probability is that you're probably going to qualify for this tariff dividend stimulus check. Of course, we just don't know because, again, it has not physically happened yet. But in terms of when it will happen, well, that's probably one of the questions that we still don't have a lot of information about. But the prediction, and this one is, this part is just a prediction because, again, we don't know the future, what it's going to hold. But the prediction right now to a lot of people, including myself, is that we believe that when he does this stimulus check is going to really depend on how the economy performs next year, specifically in 2026. Depending on how the economy performs, that's probably going to have a massive dictator to how or when or how much, even if he decides to change the dollar amount, or to the details related to this dividend tariff stimulus check. And that's really the story to where we're at right now. Now, in terms of talking a little bit about how this stimulus check will be delivered, well, the answer to that question is that the stimulus check will essentially be delivered very similar to how you received your first stimulus check, second stimulus check, and third stimulus check, where essentially it's just going to be an automatic deposit into your bank account when you submit your information, when you do your taxes every single year. And that's basically how it works. Essentially, it's just going to be an automatic process. Now, there are a lot of talks that there are going to potentially be very creative ways that they might do this stimulus check. And I think this is the part that not a lot of people are talking about right now. Essentially, is that because even if, let's say, for example, they struggle to send out $2,000 checks to all Americans or to most Americans, because again, if you're a high earner, you probably don't qualify. For most Americans would, of course. The idea really is that there are also talks about other creative ways to be able to send out money to Americans. For example, one of the things they can do is to implement something like a tax rebate or a tax cut, where essentially they will take out $2,000 away from your tax return every single year, so that you would be able to essentially net your, the net gain of how much money you'll have in your bank account will become $2,000 at the very, very end of the day through one of these creative programs. But that's just one of those things that to really just propose out there, to really have to really communicate. And I think that's the idea. Now, in terms of what are the next steps going forward from here, or what we should expect in the future, well, the big idea is that right now, because he has now confirmed stimulus checks through talk, he just has to actually put it into a document. So what this basically means is that the next steps is that he has to actually physically write the bill to implement these stimulus checks. And then what he has to do is to take that bill and then bring it into Congress and try to get approved inside of the Senate with under the votes of 60 votes, and then approved in the House. And then obviously, because he supports it, he's definitely going to sign it if it is able to go through the Senate and the House as well. So that's really the next step that we're really looking forward to going forward from here. Essentially, it's just to have the document and then to have it signed through and then to go through it. And it's going to be, now, I do think it's really important to notice is that one of the things that I think will be very, very difficult, and this is the part that's a little bit opinionated, but so that's why feel free to drop your comments down below whether you think it will or will not approve. But the idea really is that getting 60 votes to approve inside of the Senate, especially because there are a lot of mixed opinions right now in Congress about people that do and do not support this, might be a bit of a challenge. So we don't know if it's going to be able to go through it that special way, but this is just something that's very, very important to really be able to share and be note of if we end up really seeing this stimulus check become a true reality. And that's something to really, really take in. Now, I want to insert really a quick note about something to clarify, which is really about the $5,000 stimulus check. So if you guys do remember, is that back several months ago, we made a video talking about the $5,000 DOGE stimulus check. I think it's really important to maybe clarify, because there's so many different programs going on right now, is that this $2,000 stimulus check is something that's separate and different from the $5,000 stimulus check. The $5,000 stimulus check is something that's supposed to be funded by DOGE. This $2,000 stimulus check is funded by tariffs. So specifically the dividend that is received from the money that came in because he implemented his tariff program. So that's just something really quickly to insert about the difference between the $2,000 stimulus check and the $5,000 stimulus check. It is very possible that if one doesn't go through, maybe the other one can go through, but of course we don't know for sure yet because they're still in its early stages. Hence, maybe consider subscribing if you're brand new here so you guys can get updates, because we will share that if we do get more information about this stimulus check, whether this is about the DOGE check or whether this is about the tariff/dividend check that this video is really focused about. Finally, I think it's probably interesting to be able to end this by sharing some personal thoughts about whether or not this stimulus check is going to be able to approve inside of our government, and about where we're going to go forward from here. This part is going to be a little bit opinionated, but I know people are going to be asking for it. And because at the end of the day, again, going back is that if we're talking about the future has not happened yet, so nobody knows for sure. So this is really just a prediction, but there is information that already exists out there that can lead one to create this prediction, which is what we're going to share about in a bit. But the idea really is that, because right now, if I had to give my personal opinion, is that I do believe that a fourth stimulus check, so this stimulus check program, is very possible that it will approve. However, with that being said, I think that as a standalone right now, it may be very difficult to go through. In other words, it's very, very possible. I don't think it's something out of the table, but it is going to be difficult. And I think that's the part to really, really absorb and communicate. So it's possible, but just difficult at the time period. However, with that being said, is that it would not be out of the question if our government tries to find some creative ways to do a stimulus check program, because there are some. For example, again, going back is that they can do a tax rebate. They can do something where they just reduce your taxes by $2,000 to essentially make your net worth the difference of that $2,000. There's a possibility that they may encourage states to come out and do their own stimulus check. So maybe they don't do a nationwide stimulus check, but they essentially try to do some kind of state-related program, or maybe they create a niche-related stimulus check for people of a particular demographic. So there's just a lot of creative ways to be able to send money to Americans if they really, really want to do so. But in terms of the $2,000, like just a general stimulus check to all 50 states, to most Americans, I think at the time period, it's going to actually depend so much on how the economy performs next year. If the economy really enters into recession, I think the odds will improve that the country will end up doing a stimulus check. But if the country ends up improving their economy, if there are no issues, then I think at the end of the day, this might just end up being something that he just simply confirms, but we just don't know if it will actually physically happen. That's something that's maybe up to you guys. If you guys want to predict, maybe feel free to leave a prediction down, and it would be interesting actually to see how well these comments age in the future, depending on what we see going forward from here. But with that said, that's what I really wanted to just share in today's video. So if you guys found that insightful, as always, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.